Good evening. Good evening to you all. My name is Srishti. And on behalf of the team of the United Forum for Legal Studies, I would like to welcome you all to the second webinar that we are hosting. We hope that everyone is doing well in these times, and we send in our best wishes to you all. We have a very special guest with us, someone who I'm sure is an inspiration to us all, Mr. Jayant Bhatt. Mr. Bhatt is an independent practicing advocate at the Supreme Court and is also the member of both the Supreme Court and the Delhi High Court Bar Association. He is also someone who has a passion for addressing the younger minds by imparting knowledge and sharing personal experiences. And he's, of course, a very well-known face during these lockdown times because of the umpteen number of discussion shows that he's been a part of. And I would just urge you to Google him up, follow him up everywhere on LinkedIn and everywhere, and stay connected with him. And since we are also asking people to follow around, we would also request you to follow our team's work, which goes by the name of United Forum for Legal Studies. We are everywhere on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. So if you like our work, then please do ahead, give us a like and everywhere. Coming to the topic's discussion, the discussion for today, which we're all familiar with the OTT platforms in the form of Netflix, Amazon Prime, and how over the last many months they've become our friend during the lockdown times. A couple of weeks back, we saw fresh controversy over the newly released web series called Tandav, which was premiered on Amazon Prime, where FIRs were filed against the makers of the show, and it was alleged that some scenes insulted Hindu gods and goddesses, and thereby hurt the sentiments of certain people. It was perhaps also the first intervention of the central government after they came under the direct purview since November 2020. On the day, the ministry summoned the Amazon Prime Video team for an explanation. The director of the Tandav also issued a statement apologizing for the hurt that the show had caused, and certain changes were also implemented to address the issues raised. And I also forgot to mention about the FIRs being filed on the filmmakers of the show of Mirzapur, which was not even recent in the times and has stayed with us for a while. Now, there are broadly two issues that we would be addressing and discussing from our guest speaker. Is this a new form of censorship with the government directly interfering in the works of the OTT platforms? And then we see the apologies being tendered, changes being made. But is this something that we would be witnessing ahead in our times? And is there a middle path in balancing out this whole new idea of blanket censorship? And is it ultimately good for a democracy like us? So we cannot wait to hear your views on the controversies, Mr. Bhatt. And there were so many people who wanted to know your initial views and comments on this whole controversy, how it has shaped in the last few weeks. And so I think I would give it to you now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Srishti and the United India Legal Forum for having me on board. Indeed, a very interesting topic. I think I don't need to introduce what OTT is. It's all over the place and it's over the top. That's what's called OTT, just to summarize quickly. And, we are all addicted to most of these channels or on our smartphones or on laptops, smart TVs, wherever you go. Most of the people I know in my circle have disconnected cable television because they can find everything either on YouTube or on Amazon, Netflix. Now Sony Live, because of the 1992 scam for Harshal Mehta, has gone as a super hit program. So, different now platforms to view whatever you have been viewing initially on a cable television. We also need to understand that controversy is something which is not very new. Whatever programs, cinematic, or even on TV have been in controversy some way or the other, not just in the recent history, but at least in the time that I've been born and I can, recall from my memory. And even before that, I remember Bandit Queen was in controversy when in school. So was Kama Sutra when it was released because of being a bold movie of its time. Then I think even Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge was in controversy because I think there was a scene where the protagonist, the male hero, was seen peeing in the church, or he made a mention that he was peeing in the church, and a lot of sentiments, religious sentiments were heard across the country even then. And then apology was tendered before the start of the movie, and subsequently the scenes were deleted. So I don't think it's anything new, just that I think it's something like giving your class 10th exam. If you are giving it for the first time, you think it's new for you, but people who have given it before you, it's not new for them, and people who are going to give it after you is something new for them. So it's something like that. It's the sea of humanity, and then change we know is constant, but it's the change which always happens in the continuum in one form or the other. So having said that, I don't think, OTT is a smart thing by all means for most of the production houses, media houses, and the directors who have gotten a new platform to voice a different type of cinema, I would say, or different type of content, to put before the audience. And I think that's a very good thing because uh, I think in the early 70s or 80s, if one sees, there was commercial cinema and there was art cinema. But today in OTT, I don't think the difference is so much. I mean, buttons of your remote control, you have every choice to click to whatever platform you want to go to and whatever content you want to view. So I think today the viewer is the king. You have much more choices. I remember when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, and I used to watch a lot of this HBO and Star movies. It just started in India in the late 90s, the whole gamut of television serials, because and that I'm telling you of late 90s, early 2000, because till then you only had Doordarshan, and then I think in the metropolitan cities you would have DD Metro, and then slowly when the cable channels started seeping in, we had CTV, then Star movies started coming. HBO was a new phenomenon in India back then. So a lot of Hollywood movies were aired on that, but again with censored content, because if there was anything which was adult or sexually explicit in nature, it would be censored by the censor board previously. And I would say both good and bad, because when you're a raging teenager, you're like, what's the big deal? Why can't we watch nudity on television? You'd ask yourself that. But I think those things are behind us. Today, I think even a school-going child can watch Carrie Minati on YouTube and learn some fancy uses from the person. So I don't think today you have to be a really a macho person to go out in the market and then try to prove your machoism, saying, okay, I'm doing something different. Everybody, with the ease of their mobile phones, and now the TikTok is banned, but TikTok or Instagram Reels, again, an online platform of online app, you watch this, the FIR which was lodged against, I think, this old Balaji, Ekta Kapoor, I think, on Triple X series, which is one of the program on her Z5 old Balaji, which has a national emblem logo depicted somewhere. So an FIR was lodged against her also. And then recently Tandav, I think the makers of the Tandav have been given relief just this week by the Allahabad High Court. Similar relief has been also granted to Mr. Munawwar Farooqi, a comedian, who's I think one of his video got into controversy. I don't know if the same video got into controversy or multiple stories were clubbed when FIR was lodged against him when he was going to Indore. So there's a lot of mishmash, in these stories of OTT platforms. But yes, are people sensitive? Are people overly sensitive? I think is the larger question that we need to ask ourselves. And when we ask ourselves this, the second question that we need to ask is, do we have enough laws to regulate? So the answer is, if people are sensitive, I think sensibility is something which differs from person to person. What may be funny to me may not be funny to you. It's as simple as that. And that is where the whole dispute of discretion lies, and that's why people have the liberty of filing a FIR or a defamation claim, or, use different sections of IT Act or IPC or Indecent Representation of Women's Act, all the laws which are already prevailing in the country, to take a person or drag them to court just because your sensibility, either as a person or as a group of people, has been hurt by a maker of a particular content program. And as I said, it's nothing new, just that now we speak of OTT, and as I mentioned, Bandit Queen or Kama Sutra or any other bold movie of their time, which is you can also say path breaking in a way, because something which was not done before, or was not witnessed before in a particular culture was being witnessed. Similar thing panned out when Sacred Games was aired on Netflix about, I think, 2 to 3 years ago. And it was the first of its kind program where I think I would not say, nudity on your face, but the depiction of society in a way that it was depicted. But and funnily enough, the petition which was filed in Delhi High Court was not about the nudity or the obscenity in the serial, but about the depiction of Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, or the way he was portrayed, and the way the Bofors scam was portrayed in the channel. And Delhi High Court said nothing doing, and they disposed of the petition. Similarly, I think few petitions were filed against Hotstar, and now again, Tandav and Mirzapur, that are places being maligned, etc., etc. All those things are happening. Now, can you stop people from filing FIR? Absolutely not. People have a right in law to go to the court and do it. If they stop filing FIR, how will lawyers like you and me, run our show? It's also important because we are also entertainer in our own respect. We entertain our clients, and we entertain their cases in a form of briefs before the court as an officer of the court. So we'll say, well, we are also a part of the entertainment industry, but not court industry, I would say, legal industry aside, but the entertainment industry, because we as recipient of that content also have our own individual beliefs and faiths about a particular serial. And having said that, we also, as an officer of the court, have a dual duty to discharge and protect the fundamental right, which is enshrined in the Constitution. But again, we speak of Article 19, and then the checks and balances which come with it. It has been, enumerated in a number of judgments. I don't need to bore your audience with that. Having said that, I think a few other things that we have to consider is, are there enough laws in the country? As I was saying, yes, there are enough laws in the country. You have Section 67, both A and then 68, 69 of the IT Act, which says anything indecent or obscene through electronic medium is punishable. Then you have the famous sedition section, Section 124 of IPC, which people are saying, I have not seen the data or collated the data myself, but they are saying since the current regime of a political party has come into the center, case of seditions have gone up. People are politically oversensitive. They file FIR and they put people in jail. They put UAP, etc., etc., etc. Then on the content bit of OTT, you have, again, sections like 354, if you see, or other sections, also of IPC, which may be dragged intermittently, if the sensibilities are hurt. And that, I think, can be really, really, tricky. Because you have the obscenity section of Section 293, then you have Section 295A. And obviously, if your sentimentalities get hurt, you can always file defamation, either as a producer of a program, or a person who's watching or whose depiction is being made, and he may say it was not my right depiction, you have defend me in the eyes of the public in general. It may be about a cricketer, it may be about a politician, it may be about a sports celebrity, it may be about anybody. So if people are sensitive, I don't know, but people have every right in law to agitate a claim, because law is framed with a particular mindset, and it's both to be used, misused and abused, depending on how it is wielded as a weapon in the hand of whosoever is having the power. So that has always been the case, and it's not the case in 2021 or in a post or a pre-pandemic era. It's how power has always panned out from centuries. When used to the monarchs or the oligarchs, they would make laws, and they would make laws to the way they want it to happen. And now that you have a law in a written format in more black and white, you still have power. Now that we have more literate population around the world, we are a little more aware of our rights. We are aware of the offenses that we can make and the defenses that we can take in a court of law. So I think that there is not easy way to have a middle path, but there's a lot of mishmash. There's a lot of confusion in society as to what is going on. Young people, especially young law students, or not just law students, the youth in general, if they're watching something, as I said, school children are watching Carrie Minati or other YouTubers, whose content may not be very conducive for a family atmosphere or for a family programming, so as to say, because there are certain series that you may not be comfortable yourself watching with your parents or with your siblings, or with even your colleagues in office, so as to say. You sometimes, and that's why, the earplugs can come in very handy, because if you have your phone or your laptop, then it gives you the privacy that you need. But that is about privacy. What we need to know is about sensibility. So let's say the whole ruckus about Tandav was that a particular actor was depicting one of the Hindu gods, and he said something which was, I think, later either censored or was removed from the program, and that eventually ended up, I think, lodging few FIRs against the makers of the program. In the case of Mr. Munawar Farooqi, I think the same thing happened, that he also was, accused allegedly of having certain, statements made in his comedy show against some Hindu gods and goddesses, which did not go very well with certain, sections of the society, and FIRs were lodged. And then about Mirzapur, the latest I read is that people in Mirzapur who have lodged the FIR said that the image of the city is being tarnished, and the image is being shown as a is projected as a goon town of the country and all that. So I think there are 2-3 things that we have to understand. First is, let me take the example of Mirzapur. If a FIR like this is lodged, look, you're not only talking of a city, you're talking of a country. Now, if the image of a city is tarnished, the image of the country is also tarnished. That will be one of the arguments. The other argument would be, are we so fickle-minded that just because a season is now garnering a lot of audience, and just because you as a person think that, okay, it has created some bad publicity for your city, is that a ground enough to lodge an FIR? Or should police people automatically lodge an FIR like this without application of mind? that becomes a bigger question of law. And I think that is something which has to be seen, because I think various courts across the country, be it any high court or the Supreme Court, have time and again said, look, do not lodge FIR absent-mindedly. There has to be a protocol, there has to be a procedure. There are, and even today when Mr. Faruqi has been given bail, the bench of Justice Nariman has categorically said the Section 41 procedure of CRPC were not followed, and the procedure which they have laid down in Arnesh Kumar matter, which is by and large a 498A matter, the dowry harassment matter, but the protocols were laid down by the Supreme Court. There's only so much that a court can do, and you have to then the police people have to apply your own sensibility. Similarly, there's a very old case of DK Basu, which says what is the fundamental right of a person who is arrested. बट एक पुरानी कहावत है कि जब आप जेल जाते हैं तो एक जगह डीके बासु लटका होता है और दूसरी जगह पे वो प्रिजनर लटका होता है, तो दोनों लोग अपनी जगह लटके रहते हैं, ऐसी बात कही जाती है. So प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि when these things happen, you cannot then tell in a police station a police person, have you read DK Basu judgment? He's like, okay, you are teaching me the law, and then he gets a third degree. And that is where, then that is the time, I think, when your sensibility argument goes out of the window in a police station, because then you are in the clutches of power. You can not only do so little. But then comes the role of the courts, and then comes the role of the lawyers. We as officers of the court, we as torchbearer of the, the jurisprudence, and the, the legal factor that we carry with us, and the legal, pride that we carry with us, comes into play, that we have to ensure, not just wherever we are sitting, be it metro or be it a non-metro place in the country, that these things are promoted in a conducive manner, so that people are aware of what their rights are. And so far as OTT is concerned, again, you have to give some creative freedom to a person to make serial. Today, when we speak of today, we do not have a censor board, but as you rightly pointed out, November last year, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, I think, has now come out with a circular which says, look, we are going to take certain power within us. I think it is as per the Government of India allocation of business rules of 1961. So on 9th November 2020, the Information of Broadcasting Ministry has now given the power itself to regulate and to issue orders and directions and notifications and formulate policies for all these OTT portals, because the OTT portals, as we know today, do not fall under cable TV networks, they do not fall under press media, they do not fall under or any other censor board body which is already going on in the country, and that's the problem. Now the other thing that we need to realize is these are the same actors and producers and directors who have been previously on cable, or who have been previously gone before the censor board to approve their movies. And now they have a loophole in form of OTT to say, look, now we can say our things because there is no law. At least there was no regulation till November last year. Then when INB ministry said that we are going to take it under our wings, to very cleverly bypass. And that is what Harsham also did in 1992, when he was doing the stock market thing. There was no law, so he could bypass. So I think our law, and not law, I would say the parliamentarians or the lawmakers are slow in catching up with people, and they only make the law when the scam has taken place. So it happened in Harshad Mehta's case. It will happen subsequently also in the future. And now when the IT Act was promulgated in 2000, so OTT was not there. OTT is a very recent concept. I think Netflix has come in India only in 2 to 4 years at best. I think not before that. We all used to watch cable television before that. So all the OTT boom that has happened, and today I think it's a 1,000 crore rupees market in India, which at least I think last year census was about 20 crore followers within the country. So imagine so much of content flowing. How do you regulate it, and who should regulate it, and should it be regulated? So the answer is yes, it should be regulated, but not in a way that it is in an extreme form, because sometimes even the law says in terms of fundamental rights that there have to be checks and balances. So when there have to be checks and balances, why should there be no checks and balances in terms of content? Nobody is saying, even after, I think, when it has been taken at the wings of INB, you can still watch certain serial, both English or non-English serials, which have some explicit content. But today, I think most of the OTT platform do provide you, I don't know if all of them, but some of them do provide, whether it's a PG rated program, or if it's a 8+ age group program, or a 12+ age group program, or a 18+ age group program with a category of violence, sex, nudity, etc., etc., etc. So I think that is very important. And that's why I was, trying to tie this thread with my Star Movies days, because when Star Movies used to come, they would always have a disclaimer that this movie is for PG-18 or PG-15 or PG-12, means parental guidance is required. But if you are 12 year and over, this is what is the movie is about, and this is what the content is going to be. But I remember those days, I could sit comfortably with my parents and watch those movies, because, most of the scenes were censored. Today, I don't think the youth will have that privilege. I mean, yes, you have the privilege of having your own computer, your smartphones and everything, if you're affluent enough, or if you have that, and you have your own privacy of your room, or even, if you're in your car or with your friends, you can just, put your earphones and watch it. But the idea of a good content is, can the content be shared and watched by people alike? And that's the whole concept of entertainment. That's the whole concept of going to a cinema house. That's the whole concept of creating good content across the board. So good content doesn't have to, need not have nudity all the time, need not have curses all the time, or verbs which are, abusive, or a lot of violence. But yes, having said that, I think there are different genres that we all appreciate. You may like action thriller, I may like drama. Some may like theatrics, some may like a sci-fi. So I think there are different things, and I'm not the right person to tell people what to watch. So I don't think that that's not the right thing to do. People are free, and that's the basis of fundamental right in the country, that you are free to do what you want, provided you are not harming someone, and provided the content is not manipulating your mind or your thought process in a way so that you promote crime in the country. I think that is very important. So let's say if I only keep watching, let's say if I watch 2 to 3 serials which are in the genre of crime or violence, problem with these OTT platform, or the way the artificial intelligence works, is the moment you finish it, especially what I've seen in YouTube and even in Netflix and other platforms, is they will start showing you similar program for your next suggestion. And I think that is problematic, because as a young person, let's say, see, today I have at least 3 decades behind me, so I know what is right and what is wrong. Perhaps if not all the time, then most of the time. But consider a person who is in his teenage, or who is in her teenage, or a person who is less than 10 years. If accidentally they open a program on an OTT which is not meant for them, or their parents have forgotten to put a child lock for whatever reason, and they watch some content which may be completely disturbing to them, so an assault doesn't have to be physical. This is what I'm talking about: mental assault or emotional assault. OTT can be a perfect medium for a minor to be assaulted emotionally by seeing some very explicit scene, and they will not understand what is going on. So I think, yes, precautions is nice, and people have taken precaution OTT, but there is not a sure short way. Yes, parental controls are there. You can put passwords, things are there. But as I said, if you forget, let's say, or if by chance you did not, or there are multiple TVs in the house or multiple devices in the house, and not all the devices have parental control, then what do you do? And even if you have parental control, and let's say your kids or your friends or your peers go to somebody else's house which doesn't have a parental control, and they see something on OTT which may hurt their sentiments, which may be explicit in nature, I think that becomes a matter of sensibility. So I think it's a huge debate. I don't think there is a right or wrong in this. But so far as FIR is going to get lodged, I think lawyers will be in business, which is a good thing. Because we don't ask people to commit any crime or produce any content. But then that is how jurisprudence has evolved the world over, be it America, be it India, be it any country. People take offense very quickly. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. There should be some lightheartedness, or a sense of taking things easy. But I think it's easy said than done, because I think if I'm sitting in a metro with my upbringing, with perhaps my being a little more worldly wise, I would say, than a person who has not even been to a metro, our definition of sensibility, or our definition, would completely differ. And we are talking of a country like India, which has a population of 1 billion people, right? So I cannot today tell that, look, I may find a particular thing to be okay just because I find it okay. That's not how any idea or any notion builds. The idea of nation in itself is built on common platforms and common ground, because we all respect tricolor, we all respect the idea of India, right? Similarly, when you speak of religion, be it any religion, if you are going to hurt the sentiments of any religious community, that person today in law has the power to go and file a FIR against you. It's not like, but then, yes, considering the history of our country, there are chances of certain things inciting violence, and we cannot ignore that. So then it will be not a right thing on my part or anybody else's part to say, look, take a chill pill, nothing will happen. No, something will happen, because people are sensitive in the country. We have had a very checkered history of communal violence in the country. And when we look at the thing, we cannot look at from a bird's only from a particular spectrum. We have to look at from a overall periphery of how the environment is functioning, how the courts are going to look into it, how the general people are going to look into it. So I think that is where the whole question of OTT censorship crops up. I think, as I said, laws are in place. I think this year the government has also said that they will come up with a new law specifically to regulate OTT. Because I'm not so sure now, but at least when Sacred Games were launched, And when the case was filed in Delhi High Court, till then I do not think Netflix had an India office. So there was no registered office in India. And the I think the councils were getting briefed from Singapore, because one of my friend is working in Netflix Singapore. So she informed me that this was happening, and I'm like, okay. And I don't know as of today whether most of these Prime or other platforms, OTT platforms, have a registered office in India. Having said that, I think registered office or no registered office, they know that India is a serious market. You cannot just escape your liability if you are putting content which is not liked by public. As I said, Z5 has some of very breezy shows, so as to say, and I don't know if they give you that warning beforehand that this is an adult content or a 18 plus content. So lot many things. So I would say law is in the place. Law is already there. We don't have to worry about the law. Already one ministry has taken charge of content management, so as to say. So they are doing their bit. But yeah, we have to be sensible about things. Be it Bandit Queen times or be it the times of Amar Akbar Anthony. Not this, it was any scandal in the movie, but that was also a movie that you could simply watch with your family and enjoy a good show or a Sholay or any Sound of Music. But then if you're watching a sensitive content or 18 plus content, if it's not, I think I will not say appeasing the masses, but if it's not attacking a particular sect or a section of the society, then I think it's all good. And I don't think we have to worry too much. But again, we are living in a time of flux. We are living in a time where there's a lot of information, misinformation, and disinformation. And because of this, I think sometimes people do not know right from wrong. And when they do not know right from wrong, it's easy to incite people. It's as simple as that.
No, I think you have greatly touched upon all the issues that we had planned to initiate and discuss on this webinar. And I think there was this really interesting question that had come to us, to the team beforehand. And it was slightly funny as well, but it, of course, made a very logical point. It said, so why is Eve not censored, but why is sex censored? And that kind of poses a bigger question as well, where if we incorporate all the hate messages and if we incorporate all the trolling online, or the online trolling that happens, why is that not censored? Why is that part something that we are not talking about? And why is it that there's just a separate group of people, there's a particular group of people whose sentiments, whose particular set of sentiments are also being hurt? Why is it that there was this thing that I had heard on some news channel in some debate, where this lady, she said that, can you imagine Khajuraho temples being built today in this time with that much of ease? I mean, that's not possible. So what would you say on that?
Look, it's a very interesting question. And I would say, so far as the question of peeing is concerned, it's only the male peeing which is shown on the film television. Otherwise, if you show a female doing that, I think it will be again Obscenity of Women's Act will be initiated against a producer. But I don't know why males are taken so lightly in movies when they are shown to relieve themselves. So I don't think that's the right thing also. And having said that, when you're showing a sexual scene today, it doesn't matter. It's which gender it is being shown with, because now we have male, female, and the LGBTQ. So having said that, society is progressing. Look, and when we speak of any content, it's also a reflection of the society and how the society has progressed. So will you take an offense to two people in a making love? I mean, that's the bigger question. Would that come across as offensive? But on the contrary, if you're watching a violent scene where a rape is being committed, would that offend you as a person who has been sexually molested before? So there are a lot many things I think that one has to take care of. The other bit I think that you rightly touched upon is this trolling bit, trolling, or even on Twitter, on YouTube, there are a lot of people who are abusing left, right, and center. I think again, you have to have a law to curb that. Would you like, as a civil society or as a person, of decent lineage, going out in the market and every person, let's say I go down, from my residence to a supermarket and I'm just buying a vegetable or something, and the other person says, "ये क्या खरीद रहा है भाई?" और गाली बकना शुरू कर दे आपको, तो ये कहाँ की तहजीब हुई? So it's something like, can you not even voice your opinion? I mean, I'm just giving a very basic example, and then I'll try to relate it with your OTT platform. If I go to a supermarket, if I pick 4 products of my choice, which I want to consume, something like OTT platform, then what right is the other person having to, start cursing me when I'm not even sharing my meal with them? That is something which OTT is. Similarly, if I'm expressing my idea on an online platform or making a video and putting it up on YouTube or tweeting, so as to say, then people start abusing. Why? Just because it is not massaging your sense of ideology, and that is wrong. I'm not saying any party, be it political, be it apolitical, be it judgmental or not judgmental. Why can't we live civilly? Look, the first lesson that any parent give to the kid, at least decent, is please don't curse. Please don't use cuss words at home, or don't use it with your friends. No, कोई पेरेंट नहीं कहता बेटा जाके गाली बक दो अपने दोस्त को. I don't think anybody says that. नहीं होता है, sensibility की परिभाषा में नहीं आता है. So having said that, but everybody wants to be chill these days, because that's what the whole culture has become. And I'm not just saying youth, even grown-up people. I mean, just I'm looking at the tweet of Kangana Ranaut and Taapsee Pannu. Not that I'm supporting either of their tweets. Taapsee Pannu and what's the name? Kangana Ranaut. So Kangana Ranaut, I think 2 tweets are deleted because again they were not meeting the norms of Twitter. But then the next question is, are these the only 2 tweets which are not meeting the norms of the Twitter? What about the trolls, and what about the other people who are otherwise abusive or being abusive on an online platform? So I think it's a bigger question. We need a stricter law just to flush out the negativity, and I think all this idiocy, I think, which is going on all these either OTT platform or online platform, just to make society a little more breathable and livable.
I can agree to that. I can definitely. And so just quickly reaching to the end of this thing, what is the middle path that we have to follow? How do we balance this out? I mean, of course, we have to introduce new laws because they demand new laws, new protection of this entire OTT platforms, of the space world, but how do we balance it?
I think the only middle path to balance would be, close your laptops and be happy. Cut your Wi-Fi. I mean, you don't have to do much, about that. I think that's the middle path, but people won't do it because people are addicted. It's like a slow drug. It affects your mind. It's a dopamine rush. When you're playing video game, you want to go to the next level. Similarly, when you're watching OTT or when you're watching something online, with the ease of technology available to you, you want to go to the next video available or the next tweet available. So the whole scroll mentality and the push notification, I have shut down all my notifications on my phone. And I voluntarily try to make it a point to, at least if I put something, let's say on LinkedIn, I would try to only see it in the evening. And that's what I don't even revert to my comments. I'm not being rude, but there may be comments which people may say, who the hell are you and why are you making this post? And they're entitled to their view, and I can respect their view. It's absolutely fine, But I'm not going to go down and then start typing and wasting my time. I'm like, look, I have my life to live, and many a times it's not just one post which defines you. Your goodwill and your brand is built on a day-to-day basis when you're putting yourself out there. And that's what producers and directors and content makers of even the OTT platforms are doing. They're putting themselves out there. There's sometimes we have right content, sometimes we have wrong content. But middle path, as I said, is you have to have a strong willpower, and you need to start see what's going on.
No. I mean, I think that's the reason why everyone loves your discussion and webinars. You always have a little touch of yourself to add in it. I mean, with a little bit of fun element, I think. But I think due to the paucity of time, unfortunately, it's just that we have to come to this end of the webinar. And the questions, of course, did surround the whole aspect, the ones that you discussed through, and the ones where you touched upon the legislations as well, the need for more legislations, the need for a more blanket censorship to come over as well. And then I think the way you perfectly said that we need to shut our computers down and stop ourselves from indulging in them. I think that was a very interactive thing, that this session that we had with you. Unfortunately, we have to come to an end to this webinar. And of course, since we got to know about different nuances of this issue, the different layers that surrounded it. And I mean, it was a big successful one for us as well. And I must say a big thank you to Mr. Bhatt for giving us his time and his consideration, and for always being there, for always being there for the team as well. We got so much to learn from this. And big thanks to all the viewers who found the time to come live. The entire team of UFLs, thank you so much, Shantam, Vinayak, Adisha, Somesh, Abhavya, everyone. And I mean, thank you so much for tuning over here, and stay safe. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know we are running out of time, but just one share, if it can encapsulate the whole session, is कि औरों के ख्यालात की लेते हैं तलाशी, औरों के ख्यालात की लेते हैं तलाशी, और अपने गिरेबान में झांका नहीं जाता. So, for everybody out there, I think we'll just summarize.
That was a perfect way to end it. Perfect way to end it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.